The 2024 election was won and lost on the economy. President Trump, in his bid for a second term, promised to alleviate the financial strain on everyday Americans. He painted a picture of a bygone era, a time when America was undeniably prosperous and pledged to restore that former glory. The American public, weary of rising costs and economic uncertainty, placed their hopes in Trump's vision of a more affordable America. However, the reality of Trump's first 100 days back in office has been a far cry from his campaign promises. Instead of economic relief, the nation has witnessed a series of drastic economic policies, with tariffs at their core, that have plunged the country into a state of turmoil. Trump's economic agenda has been nothing short of radical, his central weapon in this economic battle, tariff. These tariffs, he argues, are necessary to protect American jobs and industries from foreign competition. But the impact of these tariffs has been swift and severe. The stock market, a key indicator of economic health, has shed trillions of dollars in value. Businesses, large and small, are grappling with the consequences of disrupted supply chains and increased costs. Airlines have been forced to cut flights, retailers are pulling Chinese goods from their shelves, and the International Monetary Fund has significantly downgraded US growth forecasts. The economic pain is being felt most acutely by the very people Trump promised to help ordinary Americans. Consumer sentiment, a measure of economic confidence, has plummeted to levels not seen in decades. The CNN Fear and Greed Index, a gauge of market sentiment, is flashing red, indicating extreme fear in the markets. The tariffs, designed to protect American jobs, are instead threatening to push the country into a recession. The disconnect between Trump's promises and the reality of his policies is stark, leaving many Americans wondering if the price of nostalgia is simply too high. Trump's economic strategy has been characterized by its aggressive and often erratic use of tariffs. He has imposed, paused, and adjusted tariffs on a whim, creating a climate of uncertainty that has rattled businesses and investors alike. His most audacious move was the imposition of a staggering 145% tariff on Chinese goods, effectively bringing trade between the world's two largest economies to a standstill. This tariff war with China, far from bringing China to its knees, has backfired spectacularly. The economic fallout from Trump's trade wars has been significant. The stock market has experienced a series of dramatic plunges, wiping out trillions of dollars in wealth. Major corporations have issued dire warnings about the impact of tariffs on their bottom lines. Apple, for instance, has seen its profits dwindle as tariffs drive up the cost of its iPhones. Ford has been forced to idle factories and lay off workers as tariffs on steel and aluminum bite into its profit margins. The agricultural sector, a cornerstone of the American economy, has been particularly hard hit, with farmers struggling to cope with plummeting soybean exports to China. The administration's response to these mounting economic woes has been a mixture of denial, deflection, and doublespeak. Trump himself has oscillated between claiming victory in his trade wars and blaming the Federal Reserve for the economic slowdown. His economic advisors, meanwhile, have resorted to increasingly convoluted explanations to justify the administration's policies. They speak of strategic uncertainty and short-term pain for long-term gain. But these platitudes ring hollow to the millions of Americans who are already feeling the pinch of Trump's economic policies. Beyond the immediate economic repercussions, Trump's actions have raised serious legal and constitutional questions. His decision to declare a national emergency in order to circumvent Congress and unilaterally impose tariffs has been met with widespread condemnation, even from some within his own party. Critics argue that this move sets a dangerous precedent, granting the president sweeping powers to bypass the legislative branch on a whim. The legality of Trump's tariffs is currently being challenged in courts, with many legal experts arguing that he has overstepped his constitutional authority. The use of national emergency powers to address economic concerns is highly unusual and has raised concerns about the erosion of checks and balances. Historically, such powers have been reserved for times of war or natural disasters, not to advance a particular economic agenda. Trump's decision to invoke these powers in this context has been seen by many as an attempt to consolidate power and circumvent the normal legislative process. This move has further polarized an already deeply divided nation. The legal battles over Trump's tariffs are likely to be protracted and could ultimately end up before the Supreme Court. The outcome of these cases will have far-reaching implications for the balance of power between the executive and legislative branches, as well as for the future of US trade policy. In the meantime, the uncertainty surrounding the legality of Trump's actions will continue to cast a shadow over the economy. Businesses and investors are hesitant to make long-term plans when the rules of the game are constantly changing. As Trump's first 100 days in office draw to a close, the US economy stands at a crossroads. The president's gamble on tariffs has yet to yield the promised results, and instead, the country finds itself mired in a trade war with no clear end in sight. The stock market remains volatile, businesses are struggling to adapt to the uncertainty, and consumer confidence has plummeted. The long-term consequences of Trump's economic policies remain to be seen, but the early signs are far from encouraging. The global implications of Trump's economic nationalism are equally concerning. His America First rhetoric and his willingness to disregard international norms have alienated long-standing allies and emboldened rivals. The rules-based trading order that the US helped to create after World War II is under threat, and the world is increasingly looking elsewhere for economic leadership. Trump's actions risk ushering in an era of protectionism and economic uncertainty with potentially devastating consequences for the global economy. Despite the mounting evidence of the damage being inflicted by his policies, Trump shows no signs of changing course. He remains convinced that his tariffs are essential to protecting American jobs and interests, even as the evidence suggests otherwise. The coming months will be crucial in determining the long-term impact of Trump's economic experiment. The world is watching, anxiously awaiting the outcome of this high-stakes gamble with the American economy. If you liked this video, please like, share and subscribe to The Silent Observer for more daily news,